Hello, welcome to today's video. Today I'm talking about trans stuff. Maybe it'll be helpful for trans people. If you're not trans, maybe it might be helpful. I don't fucking know. I want to talk about how I found out I was trans, how everyone found out I was trans, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So, to start, how did I find out I was trans? For me, it was less of like, oh, I'm trans, and more of, oh, right, I'm probably trans. And what I mean by that is, I spent so long um, repressing it and like denying it to the point where, in like, for example, year nine when I was 14, I bought like loads of weights and went on like this weightlifting arc in like complete denial that I was trans. Like, oh yeah, I'm building muscle. I'm really masculine, and in hindsight, it's kind of funny looking at me now. So yeah, I was in massive denial, um, and I think a big reason for that was because in the UK, it's not exactly the most like accepted thing to be trans or even be gay. I mean, it's more acceptable to be gay, but like to transition, especially around where I live, it's not that it's not a great like thing to oh yeah, I'm trans. People aren't gonna be very supportive. At least that's how I felt back then. And another thing was like in my school there was no gay people. I mean, there was like maybe one or two in the other years, but in my year there was no gay people or trans people or like anything at all. And so it was not really like a good climate to even like face that idea. Because if you've not been to like a British school, you know, um, you what it it's an experience. It is. I feel like I'm saying a lot, so I'm not gonna say that. But it's definitely an experience where if you're like gay or uh just anything really, that will get taken the piss out of. And for me, someone who gets very anxious and very worried a lot, that wasn't exactly something I wanted to have happen to me. So I kind of repressed it. I was like, okay, you're not trans. And it didn't go very well because my mental health obviously spiraled, you know, under that pressure. And so in year nine, my attendance declined, and by year 10, at the end of the year, I'd missed half of year 10, which is when you start your GCSEs, which are like the actual exams you take. So that wasn't great. And so by the end of year 10, I was like, okay, I've been thinking about this for 2 years now. I'm probably trans. But going into year 11, I was really, I guess, like, on the fence about coming out. I hadn't even told my mum at this point. I hadn't really told anyone about it. And so going into year 11, I was really considering transitioning. However, I kind of thought, okay, is it worth it? I know if you're a trans person, you think, and you're hearing that, you're thinking, what are you talking about? But at that point, I'd missed half of, you know, half of my year for like the most important exams so far. I was really not in a good place, and so I didn't want to face like I don't want to say consequences, but like the result of transitioning because it can result in a lot of change with your friends. I was worried my friends might just switch up on me. I was worried about just getting bullied, honestly, because I was already in a bad place. I didn't really want to, I just wanted to get GCSEs over with, right? So going into year 11, I kind of I kind of like I don't want to say socially transition, but I did like a online transition, which I think really helped me because I was able to make friends online who were trans. I was able to get advice, and it was kind of like I guess like kind of like an escape from the fucking shithole life I was living without transitioning. And so, yeah, I was living like two lives basically in year 11. I don't know how well I'm yapping. I've been going for 5 minutes now. Um, I don't know how people talk for so long. So, yeah, okay. So, I started experimenting with makeup in year 11, which was when I really started to feel more euphoria about transitioning, you know. I started doing it pretty much every week and getting really good at my makeup, and that's when I started to feel like true euphoria. I was like, wow, yeah, I'm probably trans if I'm, doing my makeup and looking feminine. Now I'm like, wow, I'm happy. Wow, you know. And so I was kind of, I guess, in a better place because even though I hadn't transitioned due to all of the kind of threats of social changes, I was still kind of in a good place because there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Because for me, if I could just get that year over with, I would not have to like ever talk to any of the people who knew me before I transitioned again when I went into college. And so that was like the prevailing thing for me, like the motive for me. Get the year finished, and then you don't have to talk to any of these people ever again. And so yeah, it was kind of chill. Um, there was some very scary moments. So for example, when I was in English class one time, I turned around to talk to my friend, and he went, "Are you wearing makeup?" And I shit myself. I got so scared. Basically, it was a Monday morning, and the weekend before I had put on makeup, um, and hadn't really washed it off well. And so when I went into school, and he immediately clocked it, I was like, "Oh my fucking god!" And that was so scary because again, like as I mentioned earlier, if there was no like gay or trans people in my entire year, and if you're familiar with British schools, having being gay or being anything is actually really scary, and it kind of makes you a bit of a target for bullying. um and so I had to like absolutely, I went into like actual like fight or flight. um in that, people would turn around and the entire day people were like, because I had mascara on basically, and they were like looking at like seeing if I was wearing makeup. And I somehow got out of it without like anyone clocking it. But oh my god, if that like had gone worse, I genuinely don't know what I would have done because I'd been putting in so much effort to just get through this year without anyone knowing. And so that was like the main kind of plan for me with transitioning. It was finish my GCSEs, um, get it all over with, and then transition, and then I can be happy and no one has to know. And so yeah, we approach the end of the year, we get through exams, everything's going great, you know. I've finished my exams, and it's like, wow, yeah, I've really done this. I say goodbye to all my friends for the last time. And then the summer finishes, or the summer starts, I mean, and we're all, and everyone's just kind of off on their own path now. And it's not really like, we don't really talk to each other anymore until, and I start my transition then, and that was great, you know, fucking hell. Uh, so then, if you don't know, in the UK, once you do your GCSEs, you have to collect your results from your school. So that was like the last thing for me because I'd have to go back to school, and I'd already transitioned. So I was like, okay, fuck it, I've just got to go in, get the exam results, get out. It'll take 2 minutes. So I go in, pick up my results. I say like, hey, yeah, I transitioned. Yeah, got my results. Yeah, cheers. And then I'm out. And I get home, and everything's great. And everything is great. And nothing bad happened. And it was perfect. And then a couple hours later, I check my phone. And I see a message from one of my friends who I've not really talked to since the end of the year. He goes, hey, a few people saw you earlier today. And I just want to say, I completely support you. And I'm like, what? What the fuck happened? And it turns out, in the 2 minutes that I had gone in to collect my results, someone had clocked me and realised I had transitioned and then told everyone. And I was like, what? Who? And, when they told me who, I was kind of not surprised. Because, how do I say this in a nice way? I hope they ha I hope they're doing well, and I hope whatever was bothering them doesn't bother them anymore. They they basically had told everyone, and I was like, dude, I don't even talk to you. Why have you told people, you know? Um, and so that was kind of scary, especially because the next day I would have to go to the college that I was applying for, and people from my high school would be there. So I was like, oh no, am I gonna get like giga clocks? Are people gonna know who I am? Giga clocks, what the fuck am I saying? Um, and so yeah, I went to college. I applied. It actually went really well. Um, and so, and it wasn't actually that bad. Um, and in all honesty, and so even that, I, and so even though like everyone knew, I don't think I've talked about like how scary that was, because to me, I had just gone in, I got my results. Okay, I'm never gonna have to see any of those people again. Plan successful. And then it all came crumbling down. I realized like, oh shit, everyone knows. Um, and that wasn't great. But at the end of the day, um, it was kind of bittersweet because even though that's something I wish I could have had to myself, it's kind of my thing to tell people. I don't know why some random fucking person decided to tell people. Bit weird, but I I'm kind of glad because it's just made me more confident now. Um, I'm, you know, People who know I transitioned. Sorry, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Basically, it's made me a lot more confident because the people who are transphobic kind of showed themselves, and the people who support me also showed themselves, and that was great. Um, and so it was kind of nice because no one can hold that against me and go, I know your secret, no one can say that. But also, um, I wish I could have, told people at my own pace. So, yeah, that's about it. Um, I don't really know what to say. I don't know how to conclude a video. I don't even know if I'm going to post this, but yeah. I'm sorry if I'm quiet, by the way. Um, I tried fixing the settings in OBS, but yeah, if please give me feedback on my yapping. I don't know how to yap really. I spend a lot more time thinking. So yeah, please give me feedback. I also want to do streams, more types of videos that aren't just yapping. Um, yeah, just give me suggestions in all honesty, please. Okay, bye.